Welcome to session 6 that continues and actually finalizes the discussion on Durkheim. So here again, I'll walk you through some basic concepts. Now, suicide and religion. These are two important books Durkheim wrote. And as I said earlier, the theme that is running through all his works is social solidarity or social integration. So remember, I was saying that when you are integrated into your family, your community, maybe your church and society, you feel happy. You are not left lonely. Issues can come, people are around you, they can solve, and you don't get depressed and then in the extreme case commit suicide. This is the theme that Durkheim is trying to show. He's just trying to argue that the nature of society, how the degree of solidarity we experience with others influence our behavior, and even suicide, which is an individual behavior, can actually be traced to the weakness in the bonds of solidarity that we have in our groups. So basically the argument is that a high degree of solidarity that people experience with their groups is going to envelope them or protect them against the tendency for suicide. But when the group, the solidarity we have within the group is so weak, we are alone, issues come up, we have nobody to talk to, in the extreme cases, we commit suicide. So that is the underlying theme in suicide. And so remember, it is the same society influences behavior through its nature, through its level of solidarity, and also through its level of control. Society is not only giving us solidarity, permitting us to experience solidarity. It is also a regulatory mechanism. Society regulates us. It's a moral entity. So two of these factors, integration and regulation, they have the tendency to push people around or to determine the cause of suicide. Now, if you look through suicide, there are 4 types that he identified: egoistic suicide, altruistic suicide, anomic suicide, and fatalistic suicide. Where we live in a society where the individual is not well integrated, that is, social integration is weak, and when issues come, the person commits suicide, they can characterize this suicide as egoistic. Okay, egoistic. That is, the person begins to solve his own problem his way. So that is egoism. You know, egoism means like selfishness. The other type of suicide is altruistic suicide, where the social integration is strong, yet the person commits suicide. Now let me illustrate these 2 types of suicide we have. For the egoistic suicide, you know, there's something we have found in sociological literature about suicide rates in the developed, modern, complex societies, and about suicide rates in Africa or poor countries. Japan, Sweden, Norway, Germany, England, US. These developed countries are also high on suicide. You know, we sit in Africa and say, oh, we are not having this and that, we want the greener pastures, we go to those countries. Those countries are so developed, they have all the material things we yearn for, but globally, they are the highest when it comes in terms of suicide rates. This is because society is not well integrated. People are highly individualistic to the extent that you can be sharing a corridor with people, they don't even greet you. They'll just say, hi, hi, everybody minds his or her own business. This is what Durkheim, you see why I say Durkheim is still relevant for understanding modern societies. They don't greet you. They don't have time. The cult of individualism. So these countries that have all the material things we yearn for, their citizens are prone to suicide very, very highly because the individuals are not well integrated. So we have a situation where a neighbor will die in a room 3 days, 4 days, until the body starts smelling before the next neighbor will discover that, oh, he hasn't seen the person. These are some of the reasons. But you see, in Africa, or the developing country where we say we are suffering, we don't have this, we don't have that. We are also socially integrated. It is easy even to see somebody, a relation, cry your problems to him or her, he dishes out some money from the pocket. We are so integrated into each other, the family, even though we are also moving towards this individualistic culture, but we still retain some of these high levels of integration. So in the traditional villages, people still have connections. They still have connections with the urbanites through festivals, the numerous churches groups that we have. The families are extended. So we are integrated in small, small groupings. You see, you can go and tell the pastor, this is your problem. They give you hope. Okay, in school, your next door neighbor doesn't see you, he'll call you. Oh, the whole day I didn't see you. It's not like in Europe and those countries. So in spite of our poverty, material poverty, we are integrated so that people don't commit suicide as high to the high level like we experience in advanced countries. So this is something that Durkheim has said long ago, and it's still a very strong explanation for why poor countries rather don't commit suicide, you know, but the rich countries rather commit more suicide. I'm talking in terms of relativity. Of course, poor countries also, there are suicide rates, but comparing to the developed countries, that's the issue we are talking about. Now, the altruistic suicide is where the social integration is strong, yet people commit suicide. Now, this is what we can hazard as an explanation. When people are integrated in the society very, very well, and they have to commit suicide, it is because sometimes they believe that committing suicide will save the collectivity. Or they don't want to even bring shame to the group. You see, so there's the issue of Japanese soldiers during the Second World War who had suicide tablets on them. So because Japan was fighting the Allied forces, so if Japanese soldiers were captured, they take the suicide tablets so that they die before they get they are brought out for interrogation, because they don't want to disclose secrets of Japanese society. So such a suicide, you are doing for a cause, altruistic. So in the same way, we can explain some of the suicide rates or suicide events that are occurring in the Middle East, because those jihadists, as they call themselves, those suicide bombings, because they also believe that their group are under attack by Americans, by the West. So as a collectivity, they can commit suicide to kill the Americans, or what they call the infidels. So those suicide bombings that you see is because as a group, they believe in a doctrine. So they are doing it for a cause. So that is altruistic. Now, anomic suicide is a situation where the social regulations of society on us, the norms of society that should actually give us a purpose or direction, are weak and absent. So we are no longer it's like the system is anarchical when people are driven by this lack of social regulation, lack of norms, lack of direction for a purpose. They can get into the temptation of committing suicide. The final one of suicide is fatalistic. That is where the social regulations and the social control that exists are so too strong for us to bear. So society is not only integrating us, it is also regulating our lives. So fatalistic suicide, for example, occur in systems where the regulation is so high. For example, in the prison, okay, I mean, they sentence you to 40 years in prison. The regulation is too much for some people to bear. They'll just commit suicide. So that is fatalistic. It's like there is no idea, or the person doesn't entertain the idea that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So one of the things prison officers do, those who control the prison, is to always watch out for suicidal tendencies. So in prison, for example, you don't leave knives, spoons, forks with prisoners, because if you are not aware, they will commit suicide because the regulation is too much. A classic case of a fatalistic suicide is where Africans were moved from Africa into slavery in US, because they were supposed to be working from dawn to dusk, and that is their life forever. Just imagine somebody takes you from the comfort of your home and treats you like property. You have to slave from every day until you drop dead. What kind of life is that? You may even think of committing suicide because the situation is so fatalistic. So this is what Durkheim has also talked about. So I'll now move on to discuss his ideas about religion. Now, sociologists, sometimes students have this funny idea that philosophers, sociologists, and others, they don't believe in religion. It's not that they don't believe in religion, but for them, the reason for religion is not what our pastors always preach. Because religion is found in every society, just like family, just like politics. So if the political institution is there, the family institution is there, we are asking, or we are saying that they all have a role to play in the maintenance and the functioning of society. Then if religion is found in every society, we don't care whether it's Christianity, Islam, African traditional religion, Buddhism or Hinduism and others, Confucianism. They are all religions. So we ask, what functions do they perform for society? Because there's no society without religion. We may debate whose religion is more this, more refined and all that, but throughout society or throughout the world, there's religion in every society. So if you find yourself as a Christian, it's a historical accident. You could have been a Muslim. If Islam had walked over us in Africa or Ghana specifically, we would have been all Muslims. Christianity comes in and Islam couldn't come in. So we are Christians, or we are Muslims, for example, in the north. But before all this, we had our own religion, which today most of us try to denigrate, make all kinds of joke, fetish and all that, because, well, in a way, religious groups are competing for followers. So the more you put somebody down, the more you hope to. So matters of religion at the practical level, they are not, people would like to die for religion and all that. But in sociology and the scientific approach is to look at religion from a detached, not emotional perspective and all that. So Durkheim said the ball rolling. He wants to see what role religion plays in a society. So here, He defined religion as a system of beliefs and practices that are geared towards some supernatural entity. And this definition holds for every religion, whether it's Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, or traditional African religion. People always have what? A system of beliefs. They engage in some practices directed towards some ultimate supernatural thing. So from this definition, we even see people believing in Antwerp, or if you go to Volta region, they have all kinds of southern part of more than us, for example, they are small gods. They are all religion. Okay, they are all religion. Now Durkheim invites us to ask ourselves, where does religion come from? And his answer is that religion comes from society, and is society that has created religion, and religion is meant to satisfy society. So religion comes as a result of society being split into two, the world of the sacred and the world of the profane. Now, the world of the sacred is that we set aside certain things, give them some magical powers, we revere them, honor them, and then we have some rituals or beliefs attached to them. The world of the profane is that world where it's not profane as we say about sexuality or things, but it means the material, ordinary world. So we split our world into two. There's a world of sacred and the world of the profane. Now, the world of sacred has so many attributes. We honor, revere them, we attribute spirituality to them and all that. And so from this angle, you see that the sacred world for the Christians, I'll use that as illustration, is all those things they do, the objects they observe, God the Almighty, Jesus Christ, Virgin Mary. These are the sacred things they do. They have belief system attached to them. Okay. Sunday for most Christians and Saturday for SDAs, they are the world of the sacred. It's like we have to be holy. The church is a sacred object. Traditionally, we are not supposed to be doing things in church, bad things. But these days, we steal mobile phones from churches and all that. So you see that the Christian religion, it has its own world of sacredness. And it engages in certain rituals and practices. Confirmation, baptism, all those things towards the sacred object they call God and all that. So even Jesus Christ is sacred. You see. So supposing I come to your church and I walk up to the pastor and maybe I pull Jesus Christ off the cross, on the cross. I pull it down and throw it away. You are likely to lynch me because that is abomination. Now, in the sacred world of Islam, they also have the mosque, the Quran. They have the Quran. They have going on a pilgrimage, offering alms, Friday, and all that. This is the world of the sacred. So any other day and things they do is the world of the profane. So in all religions, we have the world of the sacred and the world of the profane. Even traditional African religion, if you have the opportunity, you go to where they have shrines. You know, they can tell you to remove your slippers before you enter the shrine because that is a holy ground. Just like the Muslims who also ask us, you have to remove your slippers before entering the mosque. So that is the distinction we are making here. So I've discussed the sacred and the profane. Now, let's go to Durkheim's view about how religion serves society. And this is where sociology's view about religion is quite distinct from what normally when we go to church and we should do. But remember that once sociology is conceived as science, then it is not interested in, or it's not looking at whether religion or God or supernatural forces actually exist, because science cannot prove that. Because science is based on empiricism, objectivity. Seeing is believing. So we have to demonstrate to others. So sociologists are not interested in that realm. So that realm belongs to our religious leaders and all that. But then we want to see what religion does for people in society. That's the basic argument. Because it is an institution of society. It's a part of society. Just like the family raises children, socialize them, then what does religion do? So it's here that Durkheim wrote about the elementary forms of religious life. And this work is based on a simple religion in a simple religion that was practiced among one of the groups we call the Arunta tribe. These are one of the groups of the Aborigines of Australia. Now, he wants to understand that simplistic religion that they practice in order to shed light on the greater role, or the role that bigger religions in modern societies plays. Because he believed that to be able to understand that role, we should focus on the simplistic religion. So the religion he focuses on, as the title of the book says, is the elementary forms of religious life. It means, when you are going to school, the simplistic education you should have is elementary school education, at least, even if you are not going anywhere in your life. That is elementary school, which today we call basic. It must be basic for everybody, so you can read and write. So he focused on the simplistic versions of religion. And this is just totemic worship. Totems. In our traditional societies, we have totems. Clans have totemic objects. Villages or ethnic groups have. You see, so if you don't know, maybe go back to your community and ask. Okay. So, for example, among the Asantes, the clans that they have, the Sona clan and all those, they have their totemic objects. So in traditional times, these objects were very, very important in our lives. I know some people have the dog, some people the parrot, some people have the snail. Now, those animals, if you go to the folk tales or the history of those communities, they have something to say about those animals. So they revere those animals, they don't kill them, they protect them. So it means that they have attributed some supernatural power to those animals, just like we attribute supernatural power to the Almighty God. So if these animals have power, then it is a simplistic form of religion. You see, if, for example, the python is your totemic object, and it is not mine, and let's say I ran my car over it, I'm sure when you follow and you see, you will not run over the python. You will even park your car, take that python. If it's dead, for example, you will give the python a fitting burial. You may dig a hole, put it there, even put some stick on the grave. Because you think that object has some supernatural power. But if you don't do that, some misfortune can occur to you. So it means that we can begin to conceive that behavior as religion, because you have attributed some special power to that object. Okay, so you have certain belief and practice you are engaging towards that object. This is what Durkheim wants us to know, that we can understand this simplistic behavior as a religion. That's how we go to church, we do all kinds of things. Now, what is interesting about the Aborigines who were practicing, whose totemic worship he observed, was that in Australia, the continent, we also thought Australia is a continent. is full of deserts. So before modernity, the Aborigines will roam the continent in search of food, water, and all that. But then they break into many factions. Then they set aside some occasion where they all come back and meet. Just like we do with our festivals. They come and meet, and then on the basis of those totemic objects, they engage in certain rituals. Okay, like the Indians were also doing in those days, they have the rain dance. They come, engage in certain spiritual activities, religious activities, and then they wish the rains will fall. The same way. So Durkheim observed that, no, these people were thinking that they were worshipping those objects. But sociologically, they were finding a day and a basis to come together after all this long process of traveling. So if that is the case, then actually that religious ceremonies and activities was rather an occasion to recreate social solidarity, which I've been saying is running through Durkheim's work. To recreate social solidarity, to redefine themselves as one. Okay, to define themselves as one. So, not knowing or unconsciously, they are thinking that they are doing something religious and other, but actually it has a social significance. Because on that day, they take stock of those people who have died along the way, those who are newborns and all that. So the group comes together again. So he sees this religious phenomena as rather a force that is integrating the people. So from that angle, Durkheim concludes that religion is created by society and it serves society. It serves society through the development of a force that integrates the people. So sociologists begin to see religious festivals, religious practices and all that. They are just meant to integrate a people into a community. And to a great extent, Durkheim is right. Because you can't say you are a group of religious, religious group. You are a religious group without actually finding occasions to celebrate yourself. So Durkheim came to the conclusion that when people gather and they say they are worshiping, they are not worshiping anything. They are celebrating themselves and their togetherness. So that resonates with how we go to church, this is a brother, a sister, and all that. So you feel you are special from the other group. So your religion is just an occasion to integrate the two, all of you. So we begin to see this argument that all groupings, celebrations, festivities, and all that, they are occasion for social integration, because Durkheim has shown through this small focus on totemic worship and all that. So from this angle, we begin to extrapolate Durkheim's view into the wider society. So festivals, when we celebrate, it is also an occasion. Most of our festivals also have religious undertone. We go to the communities, the elders meet, they pray to the ancestors. The festival becomes what? Another religious occasion. So we are shedding light on all other occasions that we celebrate. The Arunta tribe or ethnic group come together on the basis of totemic objects, and they recreate solidarity among themselves, even though they thought they were worshiping some ultimate God. But they create solidarity, they redefine themselves as one people, one culture, one destiny. So from this, we realize that even in our own system, long before Christianity, long before Islam, we have festivals that we invite ancestors and all that. Those festivals are occasions for group solidarity. You know, one interesting thing is that you are likely to ask a Ga, why do you celebrate Homo? Then say, oh, we are hooting at hunger. Then you can ask the person, today there is no hunger, so why don't you stop celebrating Homo? They can't stop. Because that's the only occasion where the gang come together as a group, reaffirm themselves to their traditions, define themselves as one people with one destiny, and all that. So you see that for every society to live, every community to live as one, they must find occasions for reintegrating, for social solidarity, reaffirming their commitment to their groups and all that. We take the argument further and see that even as a nation, as a one whole society, we need occasions for recreating our solidarity. So in Ghana, for example, we have the Independence Day. We have the Republic Day. These are all occasions we make merry, but we need it because as a group, periodically we must reintegrate ourselves, commit ourselves to the fundamental values of our society. So yes, we are Ghanaians. We got independence long ago. Today, even Nana Akufo-Addo in his team, they are thinking about celebrating the 60th birthday of Ghana. You see, it is not, some people say it's waste of money, but these are the periods where we redefine and recommit ourselves as one people. So from this little study on religion from Durkheim, we see all this. And so in America, they do the same. Thanksgiving, Christmas. For sociology, it's just a period of reintegration. We buy gifts and all that, you see. So we see all associations, festivities, occasions as a period where we integrate our group. Can you imagine a situation where maybe your best friend forgets to invite you to his or her wedding? What does it show you? It shows you that, oh, you are not so loved or integrated to him or her after all. See, so when they make the mistake, you see how they try to explain their mistakes and all that, because it's a occasion for reintegration. So periodically, groups, societies, they need to reaffirm themselves. So religious groups, you all go on there, all kinds of activities here and there. You have occasion, all of you come and celebrate. So Durkheim will say that, well, people gather and say they are worshiping God, but actually they are celebrating their social solidarity. Now, I've shed light on that, but to conclude here, let me say something about totemic objects again. People tend to think that totemic objects are things of the past. They are things of the past, that they are primitive and all that. But we have modern forms of totemic objects. For example, we are a society called Ghana. We are one people. We have some collective representations. The national currency, okay, the Independence Act. All these things are totemic objects. Okay, the flag is our collective representation. You see, Durkheim used that term long ago. Our representation, the flag, so that if you see somebody who gets angry with you and bends your flag, I think you get angry. You get angry because even though these are secular objects, they are being treated like what? Totemic objects. The national currency. I remember there was a time one of the travelers from Europe at the airport got angry with some behavior, or there was some misunderstanding between him and the immigration officers. And he taught the national currency. Immediately, they brought him back to Ghana to try him because he has disgraced us. So like totemic object that we revered, these symbols or collective represented national currency and all that, they are the modern forms of totemic objects for the group we call Ghana. So we don't play with those things. So you can't burn my national flag and I should be happy with you. Just as how you can't destroy my totemic object in the village and I should be happy with you. So we have looked through Durkheim's contribution. We talk about division of labor, social facts. We talk different types of social facts. We talk about suicide. We talk about his views about religion. So with this understanding, sociologists often sees religion as an institution that people create or societies create, and then we use it for societal purposes, for integrating us into a moral community. Thank you.